Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q4 FY22 earnings conference call of Dwarikesh Sugar Industries Limited, hosted by Batlivala and Karani Securities India Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anupam Goswami from Batlivala and Karani Securities India Private Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 4Q FY22 conference call of Dwarikesh Sugar, hosted by B&K Securities. I will now hand over to Mr. Banka, who is the MD of Dwarikesh Sugar, to start with his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon, friends. I'll welcome you all to the Q4 FY22 earnings call conference. We had our board meeting on the 2nd, that is day before yesterday, to adopt and approve our results. So, as you would have gone through our results are impressive, and we can look at our results with a sense of satisfaction. We have had the highest ever revenue in the history of our company, highest ever EBITDA, highest ever profit before tax. So generally it has been a good quarter and a good year for us. For example, in Q4 FY22, we had a profit before tax of 86 crores and profit after tax of about 60 crores, which is at least about 35 insofar as the PBT is concerned. It's 35% over and above what we had clocked in the corresponding quarter last year, and PAT is also 24% better than what we had clocked in the corresponding quarter last year. On a full year basis, our PBT is 219 crores and PAT is 155 crores. So the improvement in PAT is about 70%, and our net worth also stands improved from 579 crores to 673 crores. As you would recall, during the year, 2 dividend payments were made. One was the final dividend, which was paid for the FY 2021, which was at 125%, and then we paid interim dividend at the rate of 200% for during FY 2022. Since the board meeting of the for the approval of that dividend was on the 29th of March, so we had to provide for the same. So we have had, like I said, Q4 FY22 EBITDA margin is also better. It's about 21.7%, vis-a-vis 14% during the corresponding quarter last year. Similarly, revenue from operations has also grown, and sugar sold during the quarter, we have sold about 10.11 lakh quintals of sugar, and this sales is entirely in the domestic market as compared to 15.23 lakh quintals that we sold in the corresponding quarter last year, which includes 7.95 lakh quintals export sales. So which means our domestic sales has grown by nearly 3 lakh quintals, and during the entire year we have sold 45.99 lakh quintals, which includes only about 2.5 lakh quintals of export sales as compared to 49.49 lakh quintals during the last year, which includes almost 16 lakh quintals of sugar exported. So insofar as the domestic sales is concerned, there has been substantial improvement, which is all because of accelerated releases that we got, which again is on account of weightage being given for our ethanol production and the exports that we did last year. So we were carrying a stock of 19.63 lakh quintals on the 31st March 2022. This is as compared to 26.02 lakhs that we carried in the corresponding date last year. So reduction of nearly 6.5 lakh quintals. So this augurs well in the sense that this will evidently result in lower inventory carrying cost, etc. and lesser burden on the company insofar as providing for the storage facilities, etc. is concerned. Impressive performances come from in the distillery segment, where we have sold 5.57 crore liters of ethanol as compared to 3.17 crore liters of ethanol in the last year. So our debt profile continues to be lean and trim. We have, of course, there has been an increase in the term loan, long-term loans position of the company, which is because we have availed one loan for the new distilleries under disbursal. So, but insofar as the old loans are concerned, the repayment is happening on time. Our long-term rating is A+, but in the year our outlook was revised from stable to positive. So it's in a sense one step better than what it was earlier. And our crushing operations in DD units have gotten over on the 20th of April. DN and DP units, the operations are still on. We expect to close the operations by about any day between the 20th and the 25th of May. So this has been now insofar as crushing quantities are concerned. Last season we had crushed about 378 lakh quintals of sugarcane. So this year we expect to crush around 375 lakh quintals, so more or less what we had crushed during the last season. We would have actually, the area under cane has been higher for this season, but unseasonal rainfall during the month of September, which resulted in heavy waterlogging across the state, mainly in our DP and DD area, the command area. So this resulted in lowering of the yields so far as the farmers are concerned. And of course, it's dented the recovery also as far as the sugar mills are concerned. So this is about our working. And insofar as the industry scenario is concerned, you would perhaps be aware that ISMA had last come out with an estimate of 35 million tons of sugar production for the country. So which means fundamentally we are a surplus sugar producing nation. So if you add 3.4 million tons of sacrifice that has been made, sugar sacrifice that has been made in favor of ethanol, so gross production is 38.4 million tons or maybe more. So in spite of such increase in the production, there has been no glut-like situation in the country, which is mainly because of the industry having demonstrated great ability in exporting sugar. The number is expected to be about 9 million tons plus. Similarly, there has been some improvement in the consumption number also as compared to the last year. So we see reduction in inventory of about 1.5 million tons between 2021 and 2022, which roughly translates to about 3 months of consumption. It augurs well for the sugar industry in the sense that sugar mills will be now assured of a reasonable price for the sugar that they are going to sell. And there, of course, is no scare of any runaway increase in the sugar price So government also is not unduly bothered about it. So it's a happy situation to be in at the moment. Distillery segment, as you are all aware, every sugar company is expanding. They are ramping up their distillery capacity. So our project at Dwarikesh, where we are setting up a 175 KLPD distillery, the project execution is on time, and we expect this project to be commissioned by end of June this year. So, it's good. I mean, cogeneration segment, the power segment, of course, continues to do all right. There has been no good news insofar as the tariff is concerned, which continues to remain at the level which was announced 4-5 years ago, with a marginal increase year after year. So that's about it. Thank you so much for hearing me out. I would now request you to please ask me questions. and I'll be very happy to answer your questions, doubts, whatever you may have.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ayush from Systematics. Please go ahead. Mr. Ayush, sorry to interrupt. Your voice is breaking up, sir.
Am I okay now? Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, sir. So I wanted to know the closing price at which we have valued our closing stock. The price at which we have valued our closing stock of sugar.
Good afternoon, sir. We have valued our closing stock of sugar at 3,199.63. So you can assume 3,200 per quintal.
Okay, sir. Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ambar Taneja from CIRC. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. How are you?
Very well, sir. Good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon. Very good, sir. Just a couple of quick questions. One is on any planned capex. Question has 2 parts. Last time you had mentioned that with the expansion of this new 175 KLPD distillery, you will be completely self-sufficient with regards to enough cane for molasses and in fact even some juice. So you will be actually in a position where there is no extra cane. So if you do capex, you will probably have to get new areas under command. So any comments you have on that? And part B is, I have heard that it costs much less to set up a juice to ethanol plant rather than a molasses to ethanol plant. So any comment on these 2 things, if you can?
Firstly, sir, on the capex, as you rightly mentioned, yes, now with the setting up of new distillery, we will be fully integrated. We will be self-reliant in the sense that we will neither be molasses or juice surplus, nor we will be deficient. So we will not have to outsource our molasses requirement from outside. But well, we have a couple of plans. Number one, which we are very actively evaluating, is to set up a refinery at one of our units. So what happens with the setting up of refinery? 2 things happen. Number one, with the kind of sugar that we will produce there, which will be acceptable as per international standards, new export opportunities will arise. As you have seen, the white sugar is traded at much higher price than the raw sugar. So that will be an interesting option. And number 2, when we produce sugar from only one of our 3 units, domestically also we should be assured of a better price realization than what we are getting now. This capex will not cost us much. This, if the feasibility is fine, maybe we will take a decision very quickly, and this can be put in place in the coming season itself. Secondly, I must mention here that in our Bijnor district units, both the units, our season goes up to 25th of May, sometimes till the end of May. Okay, so here we intend to increase our capacities a little, but that perhaps may not be feasible in this off-season. We will be able to take it up in the next off-season. So when we do that, number one, we will be able to crush our cane in the best part of the season and not extending our season during the harsh and severe summer months. And number 2, it's natural that once the capacity is increased, additional cane keeps coming in some form or the other. Within the same command area, lesser diversion would happen and more cane will be available. So this is one that these are the 2 things that we have in mind. And secondly, you asked
anything on the cost, sir, juice to ethanol versus molasses to ethanol?
So we are going to make from juice to ethanol. We are going to make in the distillery that we are going to put up now. So we will be using juice. You see, we have 21,500 TCD of capacity. So with both the distilleries, perhaps together, in each maybe about 2,250 TCD. We will be dedicating about 4,500 TCD of cane crushed for making juice to be used directly for making ethanol. So, this plant will be able to make use of the juice directly for making ethanol. Perhaps your question is, what if, set up a new sugar mill where you only crush the sugar cane, generate juice, and then use the juice and set up a distillery accordingly. Now,
that was actually my question, but it sounds like it's not relevant.
It's not relevant. It's not relevant, and perhaps then we will have to look for other newer areas to do that. So that is not there in our plan of things as of now.
Understood. Just a quick follow-up, sir. Any market for brownfield assets? As per my understanding, in the last 4-5 years, the economics of this industry has become such that the top 4-5 well-managed companies obviously take a lion's share of all the profits because they are capital efficient, they are operationally efficient, they are becoming cash surplus, whereas 60 to 70% of the plants are still, quite inefficient, whether they be in cooperative or one mill or small owners, etc. Do you see any evidence of any brownfield assets or any small-scale M&A happening, or can we basically forget about that because of political consideration?
No, you are right, sir. Actually, when the companies do well, there is always companies are eager to, they have the appetite and they are eager to expand their base. But what happens is when the industry is doing well, the pricing becomes too high. So that's the problem. And anyways, everybody looks around for opportunities, but it's easier said than done, I would say.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Dipen Shah, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and thanks for the opportunity.
Very good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am fine, sir. How are you?
Thank you so much, sir. I am fine, absolutely.
Okay. Sir, my question was more to do with the global scenario. If you can just, give us your thoughts on how you see the global scenario panning out over the next maybe 3 to 6 months, especially the Brazil season. How is it starting off? And what would be your outlook for the global sugar prices, if at all, whatever you can hazard a guess, sir? That will be helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, you see, when we commence this season, or midway through the season, the experts predicted this season to be a deficit season, with a small deficit of not more than 2 million tons. But considering the fact that India is throwing up surprises, reporting more and more production numbers, this small deficit could turn into a small surplus.
Okay.
But having said that, if you have seen more Brazil, the production is lesser for this season, and it is also expected to be lesser in the coming season because more and more sugar mills are opting to use sugarcane juice for making ethanol than sugar. So, and if you see the pricing, future pricing for the next year, May, there is no reason for pessimism. We remain optimistic that even in the coming season the sugar prices should be reasonable. And as I mentioned earlier, we have demonstrated great abilities to export sugar. So in the coming season, we expect 2-3 things to happen in India. Number one, the production numbers will be high, but whether they will be as high as what they have been in this season may not be so, because we expect higher ethanol sacrifice in the coming season. As against 3.4 million tons, My guess is we should sacrifice at least about 4.5 million tons of ethanol in the coming season.
Okay.
So ethanol sacrifice is going to be higher. So the availability in so far as Indian sugar is concerned in Indian sugar market may be lesser. And if we have done about if we are going to do about 9 to 9.5 of export, million tons of export in this season, I don't see any reason why we cannot do at least about 5-6 million tons of sugar export in the coming season. So indicating that there is no possibility of a glut situation developing. The sugar balance, which is expected to be about 6.7 million tons by the end of this season, will perhaps remain the same or maybe a little on the lower side.
Okay. And sir, just for my understanding, at what international prices, would we be indifferent to domestically selling sugar or selling it in the exports market, because subsidy is now no more available from the current year?
Yeah, correct. So subsidies, even when we are talking about 9 to 9.5 million tons of export season 2021-22, there has been no subsidy made available to the sugar mills.
Yes.
So we have been helped by better international prices.
Yes.
And as I mentioned a little while ago, we will continue to get benefit out of the international prices in the coming season as well. So we should be able to, whether there are subsidies or no subsidies, we should be able to export. And your question was at what prices we are kind of indifferent to whether what is the price parity?
Yes.
Different for different sugar mills. For example, the mills in Maharashtra, you see, for them the parity is at a much lesser international prices as compared to the mills in Uttar Pradesh. Number one, they are closer to the port, so their transportation costs are lower. And number two, they compare their export realization with the domestic realization which they get in Maharashtra, which is at least about 100 to 150 rupees per quintal lesser than what we get in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
So when in the 9 to 9.5 million tons of export that has happened or is likely to happen, the major chunk is going to come from Maharashtra, because UP sugar mills have found it difficult because they are in the hinterland, and for them, the selling it in the domestic market is little more remunerative than selling it in the export market.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and all the very best.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nimesh Sheth from GT Advisory. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Congratulations. Good numbers. I'm well, sir. Thank you. My usual couple of questions, and before that, my usual comment on dividend. Thank you for a generous interim dividend, but you gave no final dividend. I hope that the purpose of the interim is to give an interim and then a final. So I hope you make that amend in the coming year. But your 2 rupee interim is generous, and thank you for the same. Just a couple of questions. You mentioned about wanting to put up a refinery. So I have another question on the distillery side. Have you considered maybe doing something on the grain distillery side, experimenting with?
No.
You're not thinking of that. Okay.
No.
And so what is the current ex-factory sugar prices in your in your area, meaning where your factories are, where you sell the sugar?
So when we talk of the current sugar prices, I'm talking about the sugar prices which have prevailed in the last 1 week or so. It's about 3,500 plus, 3,500 plus per quintal.
Okay, 35 rupees a kilo, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I see. Okay, and that is it. Yeah, thank you very much, and all the best.
Yeah. So while on your dividend comment, I must say that by your own admission, it was a generous dividend payment, interim dividend payment, which left elbow room for us to declare another final dividend.
That's why I said FY23. I hope you give interim and a final. The purpose of interim is to break up the total dividend, so we get the cash flow twice in the year. But it's not interim. The other final mat nahi denge. That was not the purpose actually.
No, yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. All the best, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Dwanit Savla, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. First of all, congratulations for
wonderful
set of numbers, especially in the backdrop of this situation we are in. I just had one question, sir. This is with regards to our decision making. So I see that we are getting a lot better margins from our distillery and from our ethanol based sales. So how do we arrive at the decision that we are going to crush more grain this time and we are going to sacrifice more and we're going to sell more of ethanol, or is it a given that our distilleries are going to run at full capacity?
Sir, basically, I must repeat, actually I have to repeat what I keep repeating every time. We must not see the segment results in isolation. We should see the company's results in totality. But you have a very valid question. How do we decide whether we should be producing sugar or we should be producing ethanol? Now, having set up ethanol capacities, it is imperative that we utilize our ethanol capacities fully. But yes, when we set up distillery, and when a decision on setting up the distillery was made, we try to equate the price of ethanol with the price of sugar with the price of sugar. So, in case of B-heavy molasses, it equates to a price of more than 3,700 rupees a quintal of sugar. So, basically, these are the decisions. These are the factors which have helped enable us to take a decision. Now, we must take a very holistic view of the entire situation. We cannot be guided by short-term, myopic, price movements, etc. So, if all of us think alike, and if all of us start thinking that if at a given price sugar makes more sense, so let us not make sugar, let us make ethanol. And if all of us start thinking alike, then perhaps there will be a glut-like situation in the country. We'll be producing more and more sugar, and the sugar prices will start crashing. So, but yes, having a distillery gives us that extra flexibility that yes, we can take a decision as and when required. But whether we are going to use that flexibility, I don't think any one of us should do that, because we should produce because the demand for ethanol is unlimited. With the government's ambitious target, we will have to give more and more ethanol to oil marketing companies. We also have a duty that we should not get the ethanol blending program derailed, because ethanol blending program is the program which has brought the industry back on track.
Okay. All right. So just a small follow-up. I just wanted to know how does the prices of ethanol move in tandem with the prices of crude oil? Because there is no correlation between the two.
Price of ethanol moves in tandem with what? Price of?
The crude oil.
No. There is no correlation between the same. Any downward pressure on the crude prices does not have any similar pressure on the ethanol prices. Only what government takes into account is the FRP that they announce year after year. So based on the FRP that they announced, they grant an increase they announce an increase in the ethanol prices. And they also, in the back of, also keep in mind the market selling price of sugar.
Thank you very much, sir, and all the best for the coming quarters.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil G from Abacus. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. And
very good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much, sir. I'm absolutely fine. Yeah.
So just few questions from my end. Firstly, a few data points I wanted. Can you give me what is the annual sugar that we have crushed in FY22 sugarcane?
I think it's one moment. Just give me a moment. We have crushed in FY22 we have crushed 374 lakh quintals of sugarcane, as vis-a-vis 397 lakh quintals of sugarcane that we crushed in FY2021. The lower crushing is because the lesser number of days that were available for crushing during FY21-22. Now, I would urge here that, we should not consider crushing that has happened in a particular FY. What is more important, what is more relevant is the crushing that we do in a particular season.
No, sir, I completely understand that. It's just from, because we do...
Yeah, so 374 lakh quintals.
Yeah, and so simultaneously, what would be the sugar production for FY22?
FY22, one moment. During... we have produced, just a second, give me a moment.
Yeah, sir, no problem.
We produced lesser sugar for two reasons. Number one, I can tell you that separately, I just don't have it at the moment. Sugar production is 39.6 lakh quintals vis-a-vis 45.93 lakh quintals in previous FY. Three reasons for that. Number one, lesser crushing, as I have already given you the crushing data for the current FY and the previous FY. And number two, because of more generation of this in the ongoing season of 21-22, we have generated B-heavy molasses across our 3 units, whereas in the earlier season we had generated B-heavy molasses only in only in 2 units and not in the 3rd unit. So this time we have generated B-heavy molasses across all our 3 units, so which means we have sacrificed more sugar production in favor of ethanol. And number 3, of course, the recoveries have also been slightly lower than the last year.
Understood, sir. So just lastly to close on this, then just for FY22, I'm not sure whether you have done that math or not, but what would have been the C heavy and the B heavy sort of production?
No, 0 C heavy production. 0 C heavy.
0 C heavy for FY22, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir. So my next question is that you mentioned that we are going to do 4,500 TCD for sugarcane juice once the new distillery comes in. So that equates out to be close to 15 to 20% through sugarcane juice, right, from the total crushing?
Correct.
And the remaining would be B heavy?
Remaining would be all B heavy, yes. So the plan is, we have one distillery at our Dwarikesh Nagar unit, which is a 162.5 KLPD distillery, and the one is going to come up in Dwarikesh Dham unit, which is a 175 KLPD. So you can see more or less the capacities are the same, similar. And so in each we will be, for example, in the Dwarikesh Nagar distillery, we will be dedicating about 2,200 TCD of crushing for generating juice, which will be used directly for making ethanol. So here in Dwarikesh Dham, maybe about 2,300 TCD. So about roughly 4,500 TCD is going to be dedicated for making juice to be used directly for making ethanol. The rest of the crushing will be used for generating B-heavy molasses, which will be stored during the season to be used in the off-season in the distillery as feedstock.
Understood, sir. Understood. And sir, lastly, since our distillery is going to be commissioned in June 22, any idea how much sort of a distillery production we can do in FY23?
FY23 we can do about 8 crore liters. We have done about 5.757 crore liters, so we will be able to do about 8 crore liters in 22-23, and in 23-24 we can do 11 crore liters.
7 crore liters. And safe to say that with this distillery expansion, we will completely use our molasses and we cannot further expand our distillery from here on, the capacity, right?
It's like this. I had one gentleman earlier had asked me, what is the way forward. So I had also mentioned about in the coming off season, not this off season, in the coming off season, we are looking at a possibility of increasing our crushing in 2 of our units, because our crushing extends to the month of and goes up to end of May. So we crush our cane in the hot and severe hot months of May, April as well as May. So when we increase the crushing, then what will happen is additional cane will naturally come. Although the command area is the same, but it's a phenomenon which is prevalent all over. Because larger your cane crushing capacity, you get, because the diversion will be lesser. So that's how crushing numbers can get better. So if that does happen, then of course instead of our planned 300 plus days of distillery operations, we can always run the distillery for 10% more days, and subtle small adjustments in the distillery capacities we can always make and ramp up our production capabilities.
Understood. But by and large, this is like the large part of the expansion is done with this.
Yes.
Understood, sir. Thank you so much for answering all my
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajesh from BNK Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. So I wanted to ask you a strategic question on the overall equation of the sugar plus distillery. We have seen nearly 38 million tons of sugar being produced this year, and about 3.4 or 3.5 million diversion. And net of diversion, we had substantial surplus, which is getting exported because of the high export market realizations and Brazil having a lesser crop or whatever. What I'm saying is that going forward at 20% blending, we get saturated at 6 to 6.5 million tons of sugar diversion. And
it can get higher. It can get higher, sir. It can get higher.
At 20%, I'm saying.
Okay.
At 20%, we are saying 6.5 million tons of sugar diversion. So suppose we end up producing 40 million tons in 3 years, and we divert only 6.5, and if the export markets are not as buoyant, then we are back to square one in terms of the domestic equilibrium. And then sugar prices can fall again if there is no further structural change in the equation. Is that a right assumption?
Yeah. No, 2 things. Let me add my bit here. Number one, this 6 to 6.5 million tons of sacrifice can go up further. As it is, even with 10% blending, we are talking about 3.4 million tons of sugar sacrifice. Okay. So with 20% blending happening, the sacrifice, of course, can be much larger, not just 6.5 million tons. And number 2, we've seen increased preference of Brazilian sugar mill to use the sugarcane juice for making ethanol and sugar. So, and secondly, the consumption is also getting better and better with, this year it's expected that the crushing consumption will be more than 27.5 million tons. So, if about 3-4 million tons of surplus is produced in the country, it can always be exported. It can be pushed out easily. And number 2, another thing, once in 5 years or so, we do experience droughts in the states of Maharashtra and Karnataka. So I'm not saying I'm banking on them, but yes, these things do bring about some correction in the equation.
No, fair point, sir. Fair point. I just wanted to know if the government, the roadmap beyond 20% blending is not yet clear in terms of the.
Not clear, but it will get clearer. So it will get clearer in the times to come.
Okay, and as I understand, the sugar companies are geared up well for supply, but the other ecosystem, for example, petrol pumps, etc., in terms of whether they can service multi-fuel, multi-ethanol dispensing and stuff like that is not yet clear.
They are working on that. We have an assurance from the government that all these things will be ironed out simultaneously when the capacities of the distilleries are being ramped up.
Okay. Thanks. And my last question is on your Eastern UP mill. What is the amount of cane availability you foresee there and recoveries, say 2 to 3 years down the line? Because we've seen a structural fall in the recovery in CO0 to 38 in the region. So, any color on that?
So everybody is working very hard to bring about varietal changes. So there are some 2-3 interesting varieties which are there. One is 15023, which seems to be very promising. So, and there is this variety 118 that again is a very promising variety. So we do expect, but then the varietal change is a 3 to 5 years program. So in 3 years, maybe yes, you can do about 60 to 70% change. The density of one particular variety can be replaced by another variety. So all these changes are constant; they keep happening. There is always scope for improvisation.
Right. So we will not see any fall, any drastic fall in the sugar production in that mill.
No.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Ria from Equitas. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Hi.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Congratulations on good set for
Thank
numbers
you.
for
Thank
sugar division. Question. So basically,
thank you so
what
much.
is the recovery percentage for this quarter?
We don't calculate recovery percentage for the quarter. It's on a cumulative basis that we calculate the recovery. So up to March Sorry? Yeah, for the crushing season up to March we have computed. So which is lower than what we had computed. I'll just give me a moment. I'll tell you what the recovery percentage has been from the start of the season till March. Just a second. So it's been on the lower side, of course. But as we complete our crushing, my gut is that we should. Just a moment, I'll tell you this number first. So now that we are diverting, we are generating DAV molasses for producing ethanol. So all those numbers tend to undergo change. So our gross recovery was 12.13% from the start of the season till 31st March 2021. Which is down to 11.85% from the start of the season till 31st March 2022. So there is about 28 basis point drop in the recovery, but subsequently there has been some improvement. But I think overall for the season, the drop in the recovery could be about 25 basis points.
Got it, sir. Also, from a very macro perspective, I was just reading that the FICCI has increased the grain, broken rice prices, and the grain-based distilleries have a toss in their calculation because of the capex done. So, what are your views on this?
Ma'am, we do grain, so we have not applied our mind on that. But yes, this is the fear which we had when before we wanted to. This is the fear that was there uppermost in our mind when deciding if we should also put up a grain-based distillery or not. Firstly, we are in a rich belt of Uttar Pradesh where if you put up a distillery and the general expectation around is that we will be sourcing grains there, so the prices of grains would go up. And again, because of the war that is happening between Ukraine and Russia, again, I think the grain prices are shot up because of the export opportunities that have come up. So yes, theoretically speaking, I do believe that yes, their economics can go haywire a little, but I'm not fully aware of how they are, how much haywire their economics is going and how they propose to deal with it. I have no clue, ma'am.
Okay, that's. Thank you. one more question would be, what is the current scenario in Brazil for ethanol blending? So basically, the delta between sugar and ethanol had decreased over there, I think a couple of months before. So right now, what is the scenario and what kind of blending are we seeing there?
There is 1% improvement in the blending this season as compared to the last year. So while on the one hand, the sugar prices have also gone up, on the other hand, the crude prices have also moved up. So, what we understand from our counterparts there is that ethanol making is more remunerative than sugar making.
Okay. And for our domestic purpose, what currently the ethanol blending percentage has reached like the 10 and 11% in few states.
10%.
Percentage in the current vehicle with the current engines that can take the blending up to how much level?
See, vehicles can easily take more, but that's an ongoing debate with the Automobile Manufacturers Association, with the Petroleum Ministry, with our Food and Agriculture Ministry and the sugar industry. So usually 12% blending can happen. Presently, what kind of blending we have reached is 10% blending, but there's a roadmap which has been laid down by NITI to progressively increase the blending to about 20% blending as per the target that they have fixed. And there is a plan to introduce flex fuel vehicles also in the country. So all this augurs well, and we should see increased blending in the times to come.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That was very helpful
Thank
from
you.
your side.
My pleasure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Muskan Gupta from Finterest Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Congratulations on good set of numbers. So
thank you, ma'am.
Yes. So,
yeah, please go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry?
Please go ahead.
Proceed with your question.
Yes. So, right now we have been talking about setting up some distillery plant for ethanol production and everything. So, can you please give what is the capex plan in terms of numbers? This is the first point. And second point is that what can be the expected volume growth because of this capex plan, and what is the time frame by which we can achieve this?
So, ma'am, I think I already answered this question. You see, we already have one distillery at our Dwarikesh Nagar unit. We are executing a project for setting up another distillery at our Dwarikesh Dham unit. It will be a 175 KLPD distillery. It's at advanced stages of execution, and we expect this plant will be operational at least before the end of June 2022. Now, the total cost involved in this project is 230. Envisaged cost was 232 crores, and I don't see any reason why we will be going beyond that particular cost. So we will be able to execute our project within that cost. So at our distillery in Dwarikesh Nagar, we can produce about 5.5 crore liters of ethanol. And with the new distillery coming up, we will be able to again produce another 5.5 crore liters of ethanol. But as you can see, full benefit of that expanded capacity will not be available in FY22-23. So we should be doing about 8 crore liters in FY22-23, and in 23-24 onwards, FY onwards, we will have the capabilities to produce 11 crore liters of ethanol.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Udit Gupta, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, sir. So my question is that, sir, we're looking at 10% blending, 20% blending and flex fuel. So, sir, these petrol pumps are required to have 3 dispensers, sir? So, like all of them?
Yeah, they'll have to have 3 dispensers, yes. So the government is working on that, and the government is very hopeful that it will all be worked out.
And sir, for flex fuel, sir, like what is the ethanol blending in flex fuel? Is it 100% or 70%?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. And sir, do we have any debt reduction plans after the capex is over or anything like that?
Our long-term debt is at subsidized rate of interest. So we have no interest inclination to prepay any of the debt.
And so the short-term working capital debt, sir, which we require for the inventory, so that can be...
Yeah, that is if you've seen, because of the improved cash flows, our working capital requirements are got compressed because, because of the change in the sales mix that we have had in the last 1 year, with the distillery segment contributing more than what it used to contribute in the earlier years, and with the compression and the shrinking of the sugar stock levels, our working capital cycle has improved. So we expect lower interest outgo in the coming years, in spite of the increase in the long-term debt. And we do expect that we should have the benefit of better rating in the times to come. So all this will, and we always, of course, explore opportunities to raise money through commercial papers, WCDL, etc. So we think we will be able to rationalize more our interest outgo.
Get your point, sir. So when are we looking at the capacity coming in line, sir, in June?
Which capacity, sir? This will be operational by June end. By June. Yes.
And sir, are we looking at from sugarcane juice to ethanol also? Like grain we are not looking at?
No, we are going to do at both the distilleries. If both the distilleries have to be operational for more than 300 days, we will have to use juice as feedstock during the season, and we'll be using B-heavy molasses as feedstock during off-season.
Okay, so we'll be doing both, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anupam Goswami from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. So you mentioned about the 40 million, 38 sort of million ton production that can happen. Of that, if we, even at a highest blending rate that can happen, and now that grain-based distillery is also coming up, and I am to understand that grain-based distillery ethanol prices are lower than both B-heavy and A and cane juice. So wouldn't the OMCs would be more eager to purchase that first and instead of molasses based when we cater to the...
No, the agreement is very watertight, and it says priority is to be given to ethanol made from B-heavy molasses or sugarcane juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And going forward, will there be any sort of, because we are doing, as of now, we are heavily reliant on export, and next year if these things only come to a 4.5, and even at a 20%, if it goes like max 6.5, 7, where can we see this on the domestic prices? Any pressure on the domestic prices scenario?
No, I don't see any pressure on the domestic prices. If you have seen, in a situation where there isn't a substantial sugar surplus in the world globally. So we have seen prices stabilizing at reasonable levels. So with that kind of price levels, I don't see there should be any problem in exporting, pushing out about 4-5 million tons of sugar out of India. And with that, sugar stocks remaining between, let's say, 6 to 8 million tons of sugar stock of 6 to 8 million tons, I don't see any downward pressure on the sugar prices.
Okay, and so my last question is on now that we have finished with capex, what is our cash flow utilization going forward?
So we are planning a capex, though of course it's a small capex because it's just a few processes that we need to upgrade and for making refined sugar, less than 45 kumpa sugar. So that will cost us about maybe 35-40 crores, not much. So besides that, yes, I also mentioned that we we might take up increasing in the capacities of our sugar mill, both at Dwarikesh Nagar and Dwarikesh Puram. So those are the thoughts that we have, and we would want to implement them in the times to come. So, and you see, what happens is, the surplus cash remains only towards the end of the off season. Otherwise, even during this season where the working has been good, we have utilized our working capital limits.
Okay. So 35 to 40.
So the point I'm trying to make is, when the sugar season is on, no sugar company can be cash surplus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And 35 to 40 crore capex, how much capacity would that put in refinery?
Refinery, one unit we will, if you put in a refinery, one of the units will be, like I said, 2,300 tons of TCD, 2,300 TCD of sugarcane juice will be diverted for making ethanol. We will be generating B-heavy molasses, again to be made use of in the distillery for making ethanol during off-season. And the rest of the production in that particular unit will all be refined sugar, less than 45 Kumta sugar, which will open up opportunities for export of white sugar for us. And also our domestic realization price will get better.
Okay. At the current market price, is it feasible for a mill in Uttar Pradesh and at the central UP to export?
Yes, sir. If you've seen, the white prices have been far better than the raw prices. At various points in time, white prices have been so much better. Also in the export market and also in the domestic market.
Okay, so thank you. I'll join back in the queue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vignesh Iyer from Sequent Investment. Please go ahead.
Congratulations on a good set of numbers, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. So I just wanted to ask you about the distillery division of the company, right? So if we see the EBITDA margin for the year, which is around like 37.1% as compared to 36.3% for the FY21, but the quarterly results show that the margin is around 31%. So going ahead with a new set of quantities kicking in from the fresh capex, where do we see our margins for this division?
Sir, I think I had already mentioned this. We should never see that. In a sugar company, it's always better not to see, number one, quarterly results in isolation, and number two, never see segment results in isolation. It's the total results which matters, and you would see lesser margin in sugar segment, higher margin in distillery segment, but that's mainly on account of what transfer pricing we assign for the bagasse, or what transfer pricing we assign for the B-heavy molasses. So it's so much dependent on all these things. So what is more important, what is relevant is the ethanol prices are good, the recoveries are good, the sugar prices going forward should get better. So we don't see any room for any kind of despondency.
Right. But sir, on yearly basis, at least the margins are more or less in same levels, right?
Yeah.
There won't be
last year, I'll tell you why. The margins, two things have happened. Last year, we did produce ethanol making use of B-heavy molasses where the prices were lower. And so that's one thing. And this year, we have used only B-heavy molasses. Secondly, last year the transfer pricing of B-heavy molasses was lower, and this year it is higher. So, one factor offsets the other, and maybe that is how you see the same kind of margins. But ideally, distillery margins should be around 25%, sugar prices margins little better than what it is. Overall, it kind of evens out.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajiv Kumar Raj, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर।
कैसे हैं सर?
बस बढ़िया सर, आपकी दुआ है सर। आप कैसे हैं?
बढ़िया सर। मुझे बस एक चीज ये जानना है कि अपना द्वारिकेश का ये 50 करोड़ लीटर का कब तक का प्लान है, कितने साल तक में? तो सरकार से मतलब मैक्सिमम इथेनॉल प्रोडक्शन करने के लिए प्रेशर है, तो हम आपसे कब तक उम्मीद कर सकते हैं सर?
क्या पूछ रहे हैं सर? कितना? 50 करोड़
लीटर तक का?
सर हमारा 50 करोड़ बनाने की क्षमता नहीं है सर। हमारी क्षमता है जब दोनों प्लांट चल जाएंगे तो 11 करोड़ बना पाएंगे सर। 11 करोड़ बना पाएंगे।
नहीं, अगले 3-4 साल में जब सरकार की तरफ से है कि आप जितना मर्जी बना सकते हो, आपके एरिए में बिजनौर के आसपास स्कीम का तो प्रॉब्लम है ही नहीं
सर। ये देखेंगे आगे जाते हुए। फिलहाल तो हमारा ये है कि हम 11 करोड़ अच्छे से बना पाएं और अच्छे से बेच पाएं, और जैसे आगे और हमारे को लगेगा कि हमारे पास में और अपॉर्चुनिटी है तो बिल्कुल कुछ ना कुछ करेंगे सर इसमें।
ओके ओके ओके, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Narendra Porwal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
नमस्कार सर, विजय बांकाली सर, कैसे हैं?
एकदम बढ़िया सर। आप कैसे हैं सर? थैंक यू सो मच सर।
सर मैं सबसे पहले तो आपको धन्यवाद दूंगा कि आप टीवी पे भी आके काफ़ी अपना इंट्रोडक्शन देते हैं और हमारी इंडस्ट्री अब काफ़ी अच्छी हो रही है। कैश रिच कंपनी हमारी इंडस्ट्री हो जाएगी। सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि यूपी गवर्नमेंट का एक लॉ ऐसा है कि हमको जितना भी मोलासिस होता है उसका 5% गवर्नमेंट को देना पड़ता है। तो सर वो क्या प्राइस पे हमको देना पड़ता है? फिक्स प्राइस पे देना पड़ता है सर?
नहीं सर, हम जितना भी मोलासिस बनाते हैं उसका 18% हमको गवर्नमेंट को देना पड़ता है। अगर
अच्छा, क्या प्राइस पे देना पड़ता है सर?
हाँ मैं बताता हूँ सर आपको। जो सी हेवी मोलासिस अगर हम बनाते हैं तो उसका 18%, टोटल मोलासिस का 18% देना पड़ता है। और बी हेवी मोलासिस अगर हम बनाते हैं तो 13.06% हमको गवर्नमेंट ये कंट्री लिकर के लिए देना पड़ता है। तो ये जो सी हेवी मोलासिस है अगर वो हमको देना होता है तो 150 रुपये क्विंटल के हिसाब से देना पड़ता है, और बी हेवी मोलासिस हमको करीब 210 रुपये प्रति क्विंटल के हिसाब से देना पड़ता है।
अच्छा, तो सर 100 केजीज हम जो मोलासिस को प्रोसेस करते हैं तो मेरे हिसाब से शायद 20 या 22 लीटर हमारा ये बनता है
सर।
जूस बनता है।
सी हेवी में 20 से 22 लीटर बनता है और बी हेवी में 30 से 32 लीटर बनता है सर।
तो सर हमारा जो है जो मोलासिस जो आता है सर वो लगभग 19 लाख क्विंटल्स के आसपास आता है। तो उसको कैलकुलेट करते हैं तो 4-4.5 करोड़ लीटर ही होता है, जबकि हम 5 करोड़ बना रहे हैं और अगले साल हम 11 करोड़ का जो प्लान्स कर रहे हैं। तो फिर हम मोलासिस मार्केट से परचेज करेंगे सर?
नहीं सर, मोलासिस जो जनरेट करते हैं उसका 13.04% देना पड़ता है, और हम तो जूस से बनाएंगे ना सर। हम लोग तो अगले सालों में जूस से भी बनाएंगे हम।
अच्छा, नहीं लेकिन फिर भी क्या है कि मोलासिस तो 5% के आसपास ही निकलता है सर, जितना आप करेंगे।
मोलासिस बी हेवी मोलासिस 6% के हिसाब से निकलता है और सी हेवी मोलासिस 4%। तो सी हेवी मोलासिस तो हमारा बनाने का विचार ही नहीं है। हम तो बी हेवी बनाएंगे जो 6% के हिसाब से बनता है सर।
अच्छा, तो सर हमें बाजार से तो मतलब बिल्कुल मोलासिस लेना नहीं पड़ेगा नेक्स्ट ईयर के लिए?
ना हमारे पास ज्यादा मोलासिस होगा बेचने के लिए, सिवाय वो जो हमको कंट्री लिख करके लिए देना पड़ता है, और ना हमको खरीदने की जरूरत होगी
सर। और दूसरा, हम यदि टोटल जूस से चलाते हैं अपनी कंपनी को तो उसमें क्या है मार्जिन कुछ बेटर होते हैं
सर? शुगर हमारी शुगर मिल पूरी खाली हो जाएगी ना सर।
नहीं तो लेकिन आप नहीं चलाएंगे सर, कोई तीसरा चलाएगा?
नहीं, मैं वैसे नहीं बोल रहा हूँ सर। मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि जो हमने कैपेसिटी शुगर बनाने की जिसके लिए हमने इतना प्लांट, मशीनरी, इक्विपमेंट वगैरह लगाए हैं वो खाली रह जाएंगे वो।
ओके सर। और अभी
और ये आपस में दोनों चलेगा तो ही अच्छी सिचुएशन होगी सर। खाली शुगर बनाएंगे तो भी नहीं अच्छी सिचुएशन है, खाली एथेनॉल बनाएंगे तो भी अच्छी सिचुएशन नहीं है।
सर और अभी जो इंटरनेशनल प्राइस में जिस तरह से तेजी दिख रही है और मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि नेक्स्ट अगले साल 2 साल, तो सर ये डोमेस्टिक प्राइस आपको लग रहा है कि ये दिवाली तक 40 के ऊपर आ जाएंगे? क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल प्राइस को आप कैलकुलेट करोगे तो शायद मेरे हिसाब से 40 के आसपास एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा होगा, और इस साल एक्सपोर्ट करोड़ के आसपास लगभग सभी के कमिटमेंट हो गए हैं सर।
सर देखिए, आगे दिवाली के आसपास तक का बोलना मुश्किल है। 40 मेरे हिसाब से नहीं होगा, प्राइसेस सुधरेंगे जरूर, लेकिन दिवाली और दिवाली के थोड़ा आगे अगर आप जाएंगे तो नया सीजन, नया सत्र की चालू होना के कगार पे रहते हैं हम, तो
ठीक है दिवाली
हाँ, और उस समय महाराष्ट्र की मिलें जल्दी चालू हो जाती है तो उनकी शक्कर बाजार में आनी चालू हो जाती है।
और सर अभी हम एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं या महाराष्ट्र की कंपनी के थ्रू ही एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र वालों को बेनिफिट्स ज्यादा होंगे?
हमने 25,000 मेट्रिक टन ऑलरेडी एक्सपोर्ट कर दिया है पहले, और 50,000 मेट्रिक टन का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमने और किया है, जो अप्रैल और मई में हम हमारे मिल से जून तक हमारे मिल से निकल जाएगा वो माल।
सर ये नए जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किए हैं वो क्या प्राइस के आसपास किए होंगे सर?
ये सब 3500 रुपया क्विंटल के हिसाब से किया।
अच्छा, उसमें मतलब क्या है, लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट हमारी नहीं रहेगी, हमारे को नेट मिलेगा सर?
नहीं, हमारे को लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट जाएगा सर, लेकिन चूंकि हम रॉ करेंगे तो उससे 2 फायदे होते हैं। एक तो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन भी कम होता है, और दूसरा हमारे को ब्याज वगैरह का भी फायदा होता है। करीब 1.5-2 रुपया प्रति केजी का फायदा हमको उस हिसाब से मिल जाता है। तो जो हमारे को 35 रुपया है, अगर उसमें हम 2,000 रुपीज हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में निकाल दे तो 33 रुपीज का हुआ, 33,000 रुपीज मेट्रिक टन का हुआ, और फिर उसमें हम 1,500 अगर हम ऐड कर दें तो इट इक्वेट्स टू 34,500 रुपीज अ क्विंटल।
ठीक है सर, और आगे कुछ कैपेसिटी एडिशन का कोई प्लान है हमारा? क्योंकि इस साल जिस तरह से यूपी में बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट आ गई है और एग्री फार्मर्स के जो एरियाज थे वो सारी कंपनियों ने मतलब क्या है कि लगभग मिल जैसे कर दिए हैं, तो इस साल शुगर केन की ग्रोइंग ज़्यादा हो सकती है सर, तो ऐसा कोई प्लान है कि हम एक्सपांसन करें?
सर फिलहाल तो नहीं है। देखिए, हमारे जैसे हमारी 3 यूनिट में तो पूरी क्षमता से चल रहे हैं हम, तो ऐसा कोई प्लान नहीं है। छोटा मोटा केपेक्स हम जरूर करते रहते हैं, कि जैसे अगले साल भी हम सोच रहे हैं कि जहां हमारी समझिए हमारी कैपेसिटी 7,500 है, उसको हम 8,500 मेट्रिक टन कर लें। इस तरह से छोटा मोटा कैपेक्स तो हम हमेशा करते ही रहते हैं सर।
अच्छा, नहीं लेकिन आगे कोई ऐसा है कि मतलब कुछ एरिया बढ़े ऐसा कि यूपी में पानी की तो कोई सर दिक्कत नहीं है, पूरा गंगा किनारे ही है सब?
सर देखना पड़ेगा, ये मतलब एग्जामिन करने की बात है। कहने को तो ये है कि काफी
ये बिजनेस सर, आपका ये बिजनेस ऐसा हो गया है कि आप जितना मतलब कैन क्रशिंग करेंगे उतना बेनिफिट है, अब तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं लग रही है आने वाले 2-3 साल तक सर, क्योंकि